Hello, my name's Alfie5, and well, actually, my name's Amber. And I was gonna release a recording like this back in December, but then all the drama stuff happened, and I felt like I should wait a bit. So, a lot of stuff has happened with the people in the TRG community, and it's been very tough for, I think, everyone involved. So, rather than continuing to talk about the drama involved with Emile and Lolly and Masay and Ant Dude and everyone else, I figured I would rather like to spread some positivity instead, and I want to share my experience going on my Make a Wish trip to see them. See both, well, Tim, John, Emile, and Tom. So a little bit about me, if you don't know me, I am the person who provided them the Mario Party DS cartridge they used in their Let's Play, and I was referred to sometimes in the recording session. And a lot of people in the audience kind of latched on to me. They're like, "Oh, yo, that's cool," and because I was commenting under every video because I was loving the series, and people had fun interacting with me and voting me up, and I thought that was pretty cool. So a few people know me here and there. Um, Anyways, so a bit more backstory is the type of cancer I had was a Ewing sarcoma, and I got it back at this end or during summer after my sophomore year. And so I skipped being a junior in high school, and I spent that time going through chemotherapy and radiation uh, for about a year and about a year and more, give or take. I had a really big surgery multiple times actually. That enough that I had to go through like rehabilitation and I was bedridden for a month or so. But it's not really focused on that. It's about the story. So there's a little backstory. But during the time I was going through chemotherapy, Make a Wish reached out to me and asked me, "What would be your wish?" And I told them my first initial wish was to meet TRG and record a video with them. And they reached out to TRG because I'd never heard of them before, the Make a Wish people I was working with. And they said, "Well, we can't arrange a video recording, but we can arrange for you to go to meet them when they're doing a recording session." It was like, "Yo, that's really cool, awesome, great." And they told me that from what they're hearing, it'd be John, Emile, Tom, and Masay, and I'd meet them sometime in the winter. And I actually ended up finishing treatment before the date for travel came around. So afterward, it was after they spent all this work getting the trip ready for me, and I'd beaten my cancer, so I got to see them in a pretty good condition. And so I remember vividly that Luigi's Mansion 3 had just come out like a couple days prior to us getting on the airplane to go fly to them. And this is important to the story actually. I was playing Luigi's Mansion 3 on the flight, and for the first time I got Joy-Con drift on my Switch. So that was a real bummer. But then I got to the hotel, and Make a Wish had set us up with a very nice hotel, and they even gave us a all expenses credit card, which I thought was awesome. So they said, other than the Make a Wish stuff that's already planned, you guys can go explore the city and use the card how you wish to have a good time. And they also provided us with like a goodie basket in the hotel room with like the PlayStation Classic, like the mini one. And that's awesome of them. They did great with that. Um, and so we got there, we stayed the first night, went out to eat, um, and the following day, woke up, got down from. Oh, I should mention that I traveled with my mother and my sibling, who formerly went by she, her. So I'm going to use those pronouns during this story, but they go by they, them now. Um, Anyways, so I traveled with them, and the following morning, I go downstairs from the hotel, and they're supposed to meet us right outside the hotel. Um, Now, by the time the trip had actually gotten arranged, they told me that Say wasn't going to be there, but it was in fact going to be Tom Fox. Um, which I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, totally fine. So I got to meet them. We said hi, took a few photos, and then we had lunch at, I think, the Chart House or something like that. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but I was so starstruck that I actually got too nervous and I didn't talk to basically anyone during lunch. Um, my mother talked with Emile and John a lot. My sibling sat next to me, and I also sat next to Tim, and I was like at the head of the table, like it was a 5-seater. Um, and next to me, Tim was speed running Celeste on his Switch, which I thought was cool. So I ended up watching over his shoulder most of the time than actually talking. Um, I remember practicing like, oh, what do I want to talk about? All right, I want to talk about this, and this. And when I actually got there, I couldn't talk at all. So I do look back on that with like a little bit of embarrassment, like, oh God, I wish I had actually talked to them. But it was a great lunch, and then Make a Wish drove us out in front of the Make a Wish building, and there they had rented out one of those party game trucks. If you don't know what those are, they're like these rental services. It's like a 16-wheeler, but inside they have a bunch of consoles set up. Um, Now the weird thing is that they rented it and put it on the parking lot in front of the Make a Wish building, but the building was closed. No one was there, and so we had a place to meet up and play video games, but there was no bathroom. And so that was a little bit of an issue because we were there for about 2 hours, I believe, was the allotted time. Um, we got on the bus, and since we played Mario Party DS, um, we had too many people because there was my sibling Tom, John, Emile, I, and Tim. So like we had 6 people, but a 4-person game. So what ended up happening was while we played Mario Party DS, Tom played Minecraft Xbox 360 edition with my sibling, and I think that's funny as fuck. um, but we started playing Mario Party, and well, we tried to start playing. John had brought his recording DS, but it kept having trouble turning on. Uh, like he charged it, and while we were trying to connect, it like turned off suddenly like 3 times while we were trying to connect to the lobby. And so he was having technical difficulties there, but we finally got connected after like half an hour of troubleshooting with all the DSs, and we started playing on Bowser's pinball machine, and we got like a good 6, 7 turns in. Tim was in the lead. He had landed on the happening space that sends you through the pinball machine, and actually got the rare chance to land in the star zone rather than the Bowser zone. And so we all freaked out about that. And I had fun having the role of like explaining the map and how it works, like they do in the videos. That was like my favorite part of playing the game. But around turn 7, John's DS suddenly turns off again, and I was like, oh no, like they're like, oh shit, I hope it saved our progress. And I remember as a kid that I remembered like the game was like, would you like to continue your last session? But I must have gotten that mixed up with Mario Party 8, which was another Mario Party I played as a kid, because when we turned the game on, nothing had saved, and so we didn't have time to even finish a board of Mario Party DS, and so we had about like 20 minutes left, and so I was like, well, Tim was crushing us. Tim won. Why don't we instead play some of the new Luigi's Mansion 3 multiplayer? Because that just came out. I want to try it. And so we booted up the cannonball mode or something like that. I vaguely remember because I haven't touched Luigi's Mansion since I beat it. And since that was 8-player, we got my sibling and Tom in, and we played that for the last 20 minutes of the meetup, which was fun. But of course, I had Joy-Con drift, and we used the Joy-Cons that were in the game bus. So I took the Joy-Con drift controller, and I was like fighting with the controls. But it was fun that I got to do that with them. And then the Make-A-Wish people like ducked their head and said, "Hey, it's time to finish up." And I was like, oh man, I want to play more. Of course, that was to myself. And so we're exiting the bus, and I pop the Mario Kart DS game out of my DS, and I hand it over to John. I'm like, I want you to take this. I've tried to 100% it to my best of my ability while I was going through chemotherapy. And I was even grinding it like on the plane ride here, trying to get as much as I could unlocked. It's a near perfect copy. I want you guys to have this. And he's like, no, we can possibly take it. That's your copy. You must put so much work into it. I'm like, yes, but I did it for the Let's Play. Like, show off everything. Um, and then he's like, no, I can't possibly. I'm like, too bad. I had to pull out my second copy that I'd already bought. That was blank. I'm like, I already bought another copy. You gotta take this one now. And so he took it reluctantly, and he brought out a sticky note, and I wrote my for Twitter at Alfie5 underscore, and I bet that got lost somewhere along the way because they never did end up contacting me on Twitter, but they kept the game cart, which was nice. And so I was really happy that I was like, yes, my master plan worked. I grinded Mario Party and I forced them to do the LP. I didn't force them, obviously, but I'm like, well, they have Mario Party 9 coming up next. DS has got to be better than that. But DS is a game I've loved growing up. Despite having like no friends to play it with, I grinded the solo for that game so many times. And so I handed them the copy, and it was time to say goodbye. We waved. We were like saying our goodbyes. And I'm like, as we were walking away, I was talking to my mom. I'm like, man, I kind of want to ask Emile what his next Let's Plays are. And she's like, oh, I'll go do that real quick. 1 second. I'm like, wait, Mom, no, the mistake. And she asked him, and he's just like, oh yeah, I have Splatoon 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a few others that I can't remember actually. But these all have come out already, and I literally got down on my knees, like super dramatic, like, went, no, the mystique is ruined. Oh, which I thought was a funny bit. But yeah, we said our goodbyes, and if you recall me mentioning, there was no bathroom in here, and we had just eaten lunch, and we went there for 2 hours, so I needed to use the restroom. I was like, man, that was so much fun, but like I got to use the bathroom now. So my mom pulled into like the nearest building, which was a Target. I'm like, oh great, I can use the bathroom, which I did. I got out. I'm like, hey, we have the Make-A-Wish card. I have Joy-Con drift. Can I go grab a new pair of Joy-Con in tech section? And so I run over to the tech section. I grab the pair of Joy-Con I want, and I come back to my mother to go purchase the item, and I see that my mother is talking with the four runaway guys in the entrance of the Target. They also need to use the bathroom, and so we bumped into each other again, which was absolutely hilarious. And it actually worked out because Emile apparently had got me a gift that he wanted to give, but he forgot it, and so now that he had gotten back to the car, he could go grab it, and he gave me these two big booster boxes of Pokemon card packs, which I was like, I will cherish these forever. And I have, they're still on my bookshelf, like unopened, perfect, pristine. One day I'll open them, but for now they're very pretty to look at, and it reminds me of the trip. And so that was pretty cool. And then my mom gave me the credit card, and I went over to the tech section to check out. And Emile had gone over there to look for amiibos, and we kept awkwardly bumping into each other on the way to the tech section, like browsing the aisles and then back. So I felt like, oh god, if I think he thinks I'm stalking him. Oh god, no! And so I got completely nervous and like starstruck again. I bought the new Joy-Con, which are actually the ones that are on my Switch right now. But yeah, purchased a new Joy-Con, and I walked back to the entrance. My mom's still chatting it up, and being the badass woman that she is, she asks them to, like, hey, we have this all expenses paid vacation card from Make-A-Wish. How would you guys like a very fancy dinner? And I'm just like she's like trying to get me more time with them, which I thought was so awesome. And they're like, well, we have some personal friends in town that we are gonna go meet, and she's like, bring them along. I'll bring it. We'll go to the fanciest place in town. Make a wish, and so they're like, you know what? Yeah, sure. So from what was supposed to be like an hour lunch and 2 hour game session had extended into bumping into Target accidentally for another half hour. Then we head back to the hotel for a bit, and then we were gonna meet up again for dinner. This is all without Make a Wish. Since Target, like Make a Wish is like hands off. They're like, all right, we did our thing. That's the wish fulfilled. So this was on like they agreed to it. This is like them being really awesome and cool. And apparently they enjoyed my company or my mother's company enough because I barely talked with them. And we got dressed up. We went out for a nice, like really fancy steakhouse. And once again, too starstruck to talk. I was just kind of like there, just, chilling with my sibling. My sibling's an artist, and so they draw a lot in their notebook. Or not their notebook, their sketchbook. And Tim was sitting next to them during the dinner, and he reached over and drew his little character, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so fucking cool. You gotta save it. Because I was I was fanboying at the time. I'm now I fangirl. But yeah, I was freaking, like, internally, I was just like, the whole time. But I was just like, outside the entire time. And so we had a nice dinner, and basically they taught John, Emile, and Tim talked with their friends, and my mother a little bit for the most of the dinner, and I just kind of silently sat and listened to the conversations. I can't remember the conversations they had. But yeah, we had a nice long dinner at a nice fancy steakhouse, and then it was really time to say goodbye. Tim didn't, or not Tim. Tom didn't accompany us to the dinner because it was just the three of them and their friends. So yeah, I had it. I basically had my visit with them doubled from what it was supposed to be, all because my mom is an absolute badass, and we bumped into them. And so we actually said our goodbyes that time, and we had a few extra days to spend around the city, and so we did so. Went a little tourist attractions, went out to eat fancy dinners, and it was honestly like one of the best trips I've ever had in my entire life. For obvious reasons. So I get back home, and I'm all finished with treatment, and it's time to start my senior level a year of high school, because even though I dropped out, I had been taking enough like online courses for credit that I just kind of got a free ride through junior year. So I missed out a lot of like junior moments in high school. And then my senior year, I was slated to graduate in 2020. Um so my senior year got cut in half, and I never got to go to a prom or like we had something called grad bash where we went to the parks because we were in Florida, so we'd drive up to Universal. I never got to do that, and I think I had one photo in the yearbook, and I almost didn't get a chance to buy the yearbook, but I bought it against my mother's wishes early. No one signed my yearbook though, because obvious reason we couldn't. So I basically only had 2.5 years of high school, which is quite funny. But the reason I'm saying that is because I got to squeeze in this trip just before COVID hit. It was the last recording session they did, like a few months before COVID. So I was really lucky. I was able to squeeze in the trip just then. And if I remember correctly, it was the Overcooked recording session, because Tom was there. And I believe Tom even posted a vlog where he talked about it a little bit. Although it's favorited somewhere on my YouTube, but I can't find it. So time passes on, COVID happens, and they were planning the next recording session they were going to do was going to be with the game cartridge that I'd given them, Mario Party DS, but they had to wait till the end of COVID to finally record it. So every now and then on Coliseum, I'd send one donation, like, "Hey, I hope you're holding on to that copy I gave you," and I would be like really happy when I got a response like, "Oh yeah, it's in the recording room." I'm like, "It's in the recording room. It's confirmed." um, and then when the Let's Play finally got announced on Twitter, I freaked out. I posted the few photos I took of the trip, and I was just so fucking giddy and happy, like, this is actually happening. I helped with this in some cosmic way. I have helped. And so I had an amazing time watching that LP. It's still one of my favorites, despite all of John's suffering. And I even I even sent John a tweet. I'm like, I give you permission to go ahead and burn that copy, because I would root for Emile during the Mario Party Let's Plays, and apparently my will for Emile to finally win kind of was like overabsorbed into that copy of Mario Party DS. And so yeah, they hadn't reached out to me because of COVID, and they ended up dead naming me through the whole Let's Play, but that was because they hadn't reached out to me or heard from me since. And so when they announced the LP, I was like, oh my god, I'm doing great. I kicked a cancer's ass. I've even transitioned now. My name's Amber. I was like, it's gonna be a little weird hearing my name there, but I was like, all for it. It's like, don't worry. They were like, oh god, we're so sorry. It's like, do you want us to like edit? I'm like, no, just keep it as is. And they still at the end of the Let's Play put that little extra bit in there to let everyone know. And I don't know, it was something really special to me. So despite everything that has happened recently, I wanted to leave the story of my trip to see them as like a more positive note, because I know a lot of people have left and they're not really looking for any more information about the Runaway Guys. But now that it's on indefinite hiatus, the latest news is gonna constantly be, oh, the drama happened here, it's over, it's just, yeah. And I thought I'd rather put out a nice positive piece, um, just to kind of counteract the ill will that has boiled up in the online space. But yeah, if I did want to go to MomoCon, uh, at least once, and like go to Throne Controllers. I haven't gotten to do that yet, so hopefully I'll be able to do that in the future. And I'd like to be able to chat with them at least one more time before I die. um, but yeah, that's it. I don't really have a way to end this, so stuttering.